The morning rush at Sunnyside Diner was in full swing. Pots of coffee bubbled on hot plates, toast popped up from old metal toasters, and the sizzle of bacon created a familiar soundtrack. Among the hustle stood Lily Chen, moving with practiced grace between tables, balancing plates along her arms like she'd done for the past 3 years. "Order up for table 7, called out the cook, sliding 2 plates of steaming pancakes onto the counter. Lily tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear and grabbed the plates. At 28, she had the kind of efficient movements that came from years of navigating tight spaces with hot food. Her uniform, a pale yellow dress with a small white apron, had seen better days, but she kept it immaculately clean. The regulars at the diner often said Lily's smile was the best part of their morning routine. "Here you go, folks. Blueberry stack for you, and chocolate chip for the little one." Lily set the plates down in front of a tired-looking mother and her bouncing 5-year-old daughter. "Can I get you anything else right now?" The mother shook her head while the little girl immediately drove her fork into the chocolate-studded pancakes. Lily smiled and moved on to her next table, her mind already drifting to the evening ahead. Tuesday nights were special. The diner closed early, which meant she could be home by 7. The diner sat in the heart of Pittsburgh's Oakland neighborhood, where university students mingled with hospital workers and local families. The building itself was nothing special, just a long, narrow space with a counter running down one side and booths lining the windows. The owner, Mr. Grayson, had run the place for nearly 40 years and hadn't changed the decor since the late 90s. But the food was good, the prices fair, and for most customers that was enough. For Lily, the diner was a lifeline. Steady work with decent tips that helped pay the rent and kept her student loans from drowning her. What her customers and coworkers didn't know was that Lily had another life waiting for her each evening, one that had nothing to do with coffee refills and breakfast specials. The day dragged on as Tuesdays often did. By mid-afternoon, Lily's feet ached in her worn sneakers, and she had wiped down the same countertop so many times she could probably do it in her sleep. When the clock finally hit 6:30, Mr. Grayson nodded toward the door. "Go on home, kid. We're dead tonight anyway," he said, counting the day's earnings. Lily didn't need to be told twice. She untied her apron, grabbed her bag from the back room, and stepped out into the cool evening air. The walk to her apartment usually took 15 minutes, but tonight she walked faster, almost breaking into a jog as she reached her building. The apartment building was old, with narrow hallways and temperamental heating. Lily lived on the 3rd floor in a 1-bedroom unit that was small but all hers. She unlocked the door, stepped inside, and let out a long breath. Finally alone. Most of her living room was taken up by a piano, not a grand instrument by any means, but a decent upright that she had found through an online listing 3 years ago. The previous owner had been an elderly woman moving to a nursing home. When Lily explained she couldn't afford the asking price but would give the instrument a loving home, the woman's son had knocked $200 off the price and even helped arrange delivery. Lily tossed her bag onto the worn sofa and went straight to the bathroom to shower away the smell of the diner. 15 minutes later, with wet hair and comfortable clothes, she sat at the piano bench and placed her fingers on the keys. No sheet music sat on the stand. She didn't need it for these pieces anymore. Her hands began to move slowly at first, then with increasing confidence. Bach's Prelude in C major filled the small apartment, the notes clear and precise. Lily closed her eyes, letting muscle memory guide her fingers through the familiar progression of chords. This piece always came first in her practice routine, like a greeting to an old friend. For nearly 2 hours, Lily played through her repertoire. From Bach to Chopin to Debussy, her fingers danced across the keys, bringing to life the compositions she had learned long ago and kept alive through years of dedicated practice. When she reached a particularly challenging passage in Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, she slowed down, repeating the section until her fingers cooperated. Perfection wasn't the goal. The joy of playing was enough. Lily's relationship with music had begun early. Her grandmother, who had immigrated from Taiwan in the 1960s, had been a piano teacher. When Lily was just 5, her grandmother started giving her lessons on the family's old upright. The child had shown unusual aptitude, quickly progressing through beginner books and onto more challenging pieces. By the time she was 12, Lily was performing in local competitions, often winning prizes that her proud grandmother would display in the living room. Music teachers and judges had used words like promising and gifted to describe her playing. Her parents, both hard-working immigrants who ran a small convenience store, had scraped together enough money for private lessons with a respected teacher at the local university. Everything changed when Lily turned 16. Her grandmother's health began to fail, and medical bills piled up. The convenience store struggled as a big chain opened nearby. Piano lessons became an unaffordable luxury. Lily continued practicing on her own, but without proper guidance, her technical progress stalled. Then her grandmother passed away, and the family piano was sold to help cover funeral expenses. For 2 years, Lily didn't touch a piano at all. She finished high school, earned a partial scholarship to the state university, and declared a practical major in business administration. Music became something she listened to, not something she created. During her second year of college, Lily discovered the practice rooms in the university's music building. Technically, they were reserved for music students, but in the evenings, many stood empty. She started sneaking in just for 30 minutes at a time, rediscovering the pieces she had once known by heart. A music professor caught her one evening. Instead of scolding her for using the room without permission, he listened to her play for a few minutes, then asked about her background. When Lily explained her situation, he offered her a deal. She could use the practice rooms officially if she would play for his introductory music appreciation class occasionally, demonstrating techniques and pieces they were studying. For the remaining 3 years of college, Lily lived a double life, business student by day, pianist by evening. The arrangement with the professor rekindled her passion and kept her skills from deteriorating further. But after graduation, reality hit hard. The business degree that was supposed to guarantee a stable career led instead to a series of unfulfilling temporary positions and increasing student loan debt. When those temporary jobs dried up during an economic downturn, the diner job had been a lifesaver. Mr. Grayson didn't care about her degree. He just needed someone reliable who could handle the morning rush without dropping plates or mixing up orders. Lily had proven herself quickly, earning regular shifts and the respect of the kitchen staff. Now, as her fingers glided through the final measures of Debussy's Clair de Lune, Lily allowed herself to imagine a different life, one where she taught music or perhaps even performed professionally. The fantasy was a familiar one, visited often but always set aside when reality intruded. A knock on her door startled her out of the music. Lily frowned, checking the time. Nearly 10 p.m., too late for casual visitors. She approached the door cautiously. "Who is it?" she called. "It's Miguel from downstairs. Sorry to bother you so late, but I wanted to tell you something." Lily opened the door to find her downstairs neighbor, an elderly man who often nodded hello when they passed in the hallway. "I hope the playing wasn't too loud," Lily said immediately. Worried about complaints, Miguel shook his head, smiling. No. I came up because I wanted to tell you how beautiful it sounds. My late wife was a music lover, and hearing you play these past months has been, well, it's been a gift. Tonight was especially lovely." Lily felt her cheeks warm with the unexpected praise. "Thank you. That's very kind. Were you professionally trained? You play like someone who studied for many years." "I was once. A long time ago." She hesitated, then added, "Would you like to come in for some tea? I could play something for you properly, not just through the floorboards." The old man's face lit up. "I would like that very much." As Lily put the kettle on, she felt a strange sense of purpose. For years, her playing had been a private affair, a conversation between herself and the composers whose work she interpreted. The idea that someone else found value in it, that it could be a gift rather than just a personal indulgence, stirred something deep inside her. Later, as Miguel listened with closed eyes to her playing Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, Lily realized that music was meant to be shared. Perhaps the dream wasn't as far away as she had thought. Perhaps there was still a path forward that included both paying the rent and nurturing her unexpected talent. The next morning, as she tied her apron and prepared for another day of pancakes and coffee, Lily carried a new feeling with her, the faint but persistent sense that something was about to change. The Sunday morning rush at Sunnyside Diner was always the busiest shift of the week. Families fresh from church services filled the booths, college students nursing hangovers huddled over coffee cups, and the kitchen staff shouted orders over the din of conversation and clattering plates. Lily moved through the chaos with practiced ease, balancing 5 plates along her arms and remembering which table had asked for extra syrup and who wanted their eggs over easy instead of scrambled. Her feet ached in her well-worn sneakers, but she kept a genuine smile on her face as she worked. Sunday shifts meant Sunday tips, and Sunday tips meant she might be able to afford the piano tuning she'd been putting off for months. "Order up for table 12, called the cook, sliding a plate of Belgian waffles topped with strawberries and whipped cream onto the counter. Lily grabbed the plate and headed toward table 12, where an older gentleman sat alone reading a newspaper. She had noticed him when he first came in. He wasn't a regular, and something about his dignified posture made him stand out among the usual Sunday crowd. "Here's your Belgian waffle," Lily said, placing the plate in front of him. "Can I get you anything else? More coffee, perhaps?" The man looked up from his newspaper, and Lily was struck by his piercing blue eyes. He was in his mid-60s with silver hair and a neatly trimmed beard. His hands, she noticed, were elegant with long fingers. A pianist's hands. "Thank you. The coffee would be wonderful," he said with a slight accent that Lily couldn't quite place. "Eastern European, maybe." As she poured his coffee, Lily found herself humming softly, a habit she often fell into without realizing. Today it was a fragment of Bach's French Suite No. 5, a piece she had been working on the night before. The man's eyebrows rose slightly. "Bach?" he asked, surprising her. Lily felt her cheeks warm. "Yes, sorry, I didn't realize I was humming." "No need to apologize. It's not often one hears Bach in a diner." He studied her with newfound interest. "You know classical music?" "I play a bit," Lily said, downplaying as she always did when the subject came up. "Nothing serious, just for myself." "Piano?" the man guessed. Lily nodded, then gestured at the busy diner. "I should get back to my other tables." "Enjoy your waffle." Throughout the next hour, Lily noticed the man watching her as she worked, not in a creepy way, but with a thoughtful, assessing gaze that made her curious. When he finally asked for his check, Lily brought it promptly, expecting him to pay and leave. Instead, he took out a business card and placed it on the table next to his credit card. "My name is Anton Petrov. I'm the guest conductor for the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra this season," he said, his voice quiet but commanding. "I couldn't help but notice how you move your fingers when you're idle, like you're playing invisible keys." Lily glanced down at her hands, embarrassed. She hadn't realized she did that. "And your humming was perfectly on pitch," he continued. "You said you play." "I'm curious about that. Would you consider calling me? I have a proposition that might interest you." Lily took his card automatically, reading the embossed text, Anton Petrov, conductor. Below was a phone number and email address. She started, not sure what to say. Was this some kind of weird pickup attempt? But the man's expression held no hint of flirtation, only professional interest. "Think about it," he said simply, standing to leave after she processed his payment. "Music clearly matters to you. Perhaps we can help each other." With that cryptic statement, he left, leaving Lily standing there with his business card and a swirl of confused thoughts. "He just gave you his card?" "Just like that?" May, Lily's roommate from college and still her closest friend, sat cross-legged on Lily's sofa that evening, eyes wide with excitement. "Just like that," Lily confirmed, showing May the business card. "I looked him up online during my break. He's legitimate. A renowned conductor from Vienna who's guest conducting for the Pittsburgh Symphony this season. There are articles about him and everything. So what's this proposition he mentioned?" May wiggled her eyebrows suggestively. Lily threw a cushion at her. "Not that kind of proposition. I think it might actually be about music." "Well, duh. He's a conductor. But what could he possibly want with a waitress?" "No offense," May added quickly. "None taken." Lily chewed her lower lip thoughtfully. "That's what I keep asking myself. It doesn't make sense. Unless he heard you humming and was like, wow, this random waitress has the voice of an angel." May dramatically clutched her chest. "I don't have the voice of an angel," Lily snorted. "And anyway, he seemed more interested in the fact that I play piano." May's expression turned serious. "You know, you're really good, Lily, like really good." Maybe he sensed that somehow. Lily shook her head. "He couldn't possibly know how I play from watching me serve eggs and pancakes. So call him and find out what he wants." May pointed at the card. "What's the worst that could happen? It could be weird and awkward. And then I'd have to find another job because I couldn't face him if he ever came back to the diner. Or, May countered, it could be amazing and life-changing, and exactly what you've been waiting for without knowing you were waiting for it. Lily rolled her eyes at her friend's dramatics, but tucked the card into her wallet. Anyway, for the next 3 days, Lily carried the card with her, taking it out occasionally to look at it before putting it away again. She searched for more information about Anton Petrov online, reading articles about his acclaimed performances across Europe and his recent arrival in Pittsburgh for a 1-year residency with the symphony. On Thursday evening, after a particularly grueling double shift at the diner, Lily sat at her piano, fingers moving through a Chopin nocturne that had always brought her comfort. As the final notes faded, she made her decision. With slightly shaky hands, she dialed the number on the card. "Hello?" The accented voice answered after 2 rings. "Mr. Petrov? This is Lily Chen, from the diner." "Ah, the waitress who hums Bach. I was hoping you would call." His tone was warm and professional. "You said you had a proposition for me?" Lily asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Yes, are you free tomorrow evening? Say 7 o'clock? I'd like you to come to Heinz Hall. The symphony has finished rehearsal by then, and we could have some privacy to discuss my idea." Lily hesitated. Heinz Hall was the grand performance venue where the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra played. It seemed so far removed from her world of diner counters and tip jars. "I could be there," she said finally. "But I'm still not sure what this is about." "It's about music, Ms. Chen, and potential. But I'd rather explain in person if you don't mind. Ask at the stage door for me and they'll let you in." After hanging up, Lily sat in silence for a long moment. Then she called May. "He wants me to meet him at Heinz Hall tomorrow evening," she said when her friend answered. May squealed so loudly that Lily had to hold the phone away from her ear. This is just like a movie. The struggling artist gets discovered by the famous maestro. "It's not like that," Lily protested. "He probably just needs someone to stuff envelopes or something." "Sure, because world-famous conductors regularly recruit waitresses for administrative work," May said sarcastically. "You need to wear something nice. What about that blue dress you wore to my brother's wedding?" "I'm not dressing up just to be told he needs someone to hand out programs," Lily argued, even as she mentally inventoried her closet. "Humor me," May insisted. "If nothing else, you'll get to see the inside of Heinz Hall. And if you don't text me updates, I'm calling the police." The next evening, Lily stood nervously outside the stage door of Heinz Hall, smoothing down her blue dress and second-guessing her decision to come. She had left her hair down and applied just a touch of makeup, enough to look polished but not like she was trying too hard. Taking a deep breath, she approached the security guard. "I'm here to see Mr. Petrov. He's expecting me." The guard checked a list. "Lily Chen?" She nodded, surprised that her name was actually there. "Go on in. Take the hallway to the right. 3rd door on the left." Lily followed his directions, walking down a hallway lined with framed photos of famous musicians who had performed at the venue over the decades. The 3rd door on the left was slightly ajar, and she could hear piano music coming from inside, someone playing a complex passage from Rachmaninoff. With impressive skill, she knocked gently. "Come in," called Anton's voice. Lily pushed the door, open to find a spacious rehearsal room. Anton sat at a grand piano far nicer than any Lily had ever played. He finished the phrase he was playing before turning to greet her. "Ms. Chen, thank you for coming." He stood and gestured to a chair near the piano. "Please, sit down." Lily perched on the edge of the chair, her hands folded nervously in her lap. "You play beautifully," she said, nodding toward the piano. "Thank you. I was a pianist before I became a conductor." He smiled slightly. "But we're not here to talk about my playing. Tell me about your musical background." Surprised by the direct question, Lily found herself explaining about her grandmother's teaching, the competitions she had won as a child, and how financial necessity had forced her to abandon formal training. Anton listened intently, asking occasional questions about which teachers she had worked with and what repertoire she had mastered. "And you still practice?" he asked. Lily nodded. "Almost every day, even if it's just for an hour after work? Would you play something for me?" He gestured to the piano. Lily froze. "Now?" "Why not?" "You're here, the piano is here." He stepped away from the bench, making room for her. Lily approached the magnificent instrument hesitantly. This was a Steinway concert grand, The kind of piano she had only played a handful of times in her life, usually during competitions. Her own piano at home was a decent upright, but nothing like this. "Play whatever you feel comfortable with," Anton said, moving to stand where he could see her hands. Lily sat down, adjusting the bench and taking a moment to feel the weight of the keys beneath her fingers. Then, almost without conscious decision, she began to play Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor, a challenging piece she had been working on for months. At first, her playing was tentative, her body tense with nerves, but gradually, as the music flowed through her, she forgot about Anton watching, forgot about the strangeness of the situation, and simply played. Her fingers found the familiar patterns, drawing out the emotional narrative of the piece, from the delicate, questioning opening to the thunderous, passionate conclusion. When the final chord faded, Lily realized she had closed her eyes while playing. She opened them to find Anton watching her with an expression of quiet satisfaction, as if she had confirmed something he had already suspected. "You have a gift," he said simply. "Raw in places, yes. Your technique could use refinement, but the musicality is there, the understanding of what lies beneath the notes." Lily blushed at the praise. "Thank you." Anton sat in a chair across from her. "Now let me tell you why I asked you here. I have a vision for a community outreach program, bringing classical music to neighborhoods and schools that have little exposure to it. The Symphony Board has approved funding for a pilot program, but I need someone to help me develop and implement it." "And you want me to help?" Lily asked, confused. "I don't have any experience with program development." "But you have something more valuable," Anton countered. "You understand both worlds. You've walked in both, and you play with heart, which is something that cannot be taught." He leaned forward, his eyes intense. "I need someone who can translate between the world of classical music and the everyday experiences of people who think such music isn't for them. Someone who can demonstrate that music belongs to everyone." Lily sat in stunned silence, trying to process what he was suggesting. "Think about it," Anton said, handing her another card with different contact information. "This is my personal number. Call me when you've decided." As Lily left Heinz Hall that evening, the cool night air felt electric against her skin. For the first time in years, the future seemed full of unexpected possibilities. The early morning light filtered through the blinds as Lily stared at the ceiling of her bedroom. She had barely slept, her mind replaying the events at Heinz Hall over and over. The feeling of the magnificent Steinway under her fingers, the way Anton had listened with such intense focus, and most of all, his unexpected offer. A community outreach program. Teaching music in neighborhoods where kids had little access to the arts. Working with the Pittsburgh Symphony. It sounded like a dream. The kind of opportunity that happened to other people, not to waitresses with abandoned musical ambitions. Yet here it was, dangling before her like a perfectly ripe fruit just within reach. Lily rolled over and checked her phone. 5:43 a.m. Too early to call May, who would still be sound asleep. Too early to call Anton with her decision, but not too early to get up and face the day that would change everything. By 6:30, she was dressed and heading to the diner for her morning shift. The familiar routine felt strange now, as if she were moving through someone else's life. She tied her apron with hands that had played Chopin on a concert grand less than 12 hours earlier, then picked up a coffee pot to make her rounds. "You look different today," observed Mr. Grayson as he flipped pancakes on the grill. "Different how?" Lily asked, surprised that her internal turmoil was so visible. The older man shrugged. "Can't put my finger on it." "Like you're about to jump out of your skin?" Lily gave a small laugh. "Maybe I am." Throughout her shift, Lily found herself making mental calculations. Anton hadn't mentioned money yesterday, but surely there would be some compensation for the program work. Would it be enough to live on? Could she cut back on diner shifts? Or would this be something she'd have to squeeze in around her current job? During her lunch break, she finally called May. "Well, don't keep me in suspense," her friend demanded as soon as she answered. Lily quickly explained Anton's proposal. "This is incredible," May practically shouted through the phone. "It's perfect for you. When do you start?" "I haven't said yes yet," Lily admitted. "I have so many questions. What if I'm not qualified? What if I mess it up? What if—" "Stop right there," May interrupted. "This conductor guy clearly sees something in you. And think about it. You've always said that if you couldn't have a performance career, you'd want to teach. This is your chance to do both. But I don't have a music degree. I don't have any professional experience. You have life experience, May countered. And talent. And heart. Sometimes that counts for more than a bunch of letters after your name. Lily sighed. I'm scared, May. Of course you are. Big changes are scary. But you know what's scarier? Looking back 20 years from now and wondering what might have happened if you'd said yes. After her shift ended, Lily walked home slowly, watching the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the city streets. When she reached her apartment, she sat at her piano but didn't play. Instead, she took out Anton's card and dialed his number. Hello, Ms. Chen, he answered as if he had been expecting her call. I'd like to learn more about the program, Lily said, her voice steadier than she felt. About what exactly you're expecting from me? Of course. Could you meet me tomorrow at the community center on Butler Street? Say around 10 in the morning? It might be easier to show you rather than tell you. Lily agreed, and the next morning found herself standing outside a worn brick building in one of Pittsburgh's less affluent neighborhoods. Anton was waiting for her at the entrance. Thank you for coming, he said, shaking her hand formally. Let me introduce you to someone. He led her inside to a large room where a woman in her 50s was arranging chairs. Lily, this is Diane Rodriguez. She runs the center's after-school programs. Diane, this is Lily Chen, the pianist I told you about. The woman turned, her face lighting up with a warm smile. Anton says you're exactly what we've been looking for. Lily felt her cheeks warm. I'm not sure about that, but I'm interested in learning more. For the next hour, Diane showed Lily around the center, explaining the various programs they offered for neighborhood children and teens. Art classes, homework help, sports, and a small but dedicated drama program. What we've never had is music, Diane explained. Not proper music instruction, anyway. We tried a few years ago with volunteer teachers, but they couldn't commit consistently. Kids need consistency. That's where the symphony's resources come in, Anton added. We can provide instruments, materials, and most importantly, paid instructors who can make a real commitment. They ended the tour in a large, empty room with good natural light. This would be your classroom, Diane said, if you decide to join us. Lily looked around the space, already imagining it filled with keyboards and children. We're starting small, Anton explained. Piano first, since that's your specialty. If the pilot is successful, we'll expand to other instruments. Eventually, we hope to form a youth orchestra that can perform alongside symphony musicians. And my role would be? Lily asked. Teaching primarily. 2 group classes per week for beginners, and individual lessons for more advanced students. You'd also help develop the curriculum and select appropriate repertoire for the student's level. But I've never taught before, Lily protested. Not formally, Anton smiled slightly. Teaching is an art that can be learned, especially by someone who understands music as you do, and will provide training and support. The pay isn't what you'd get at a fancy private studio, Diane added honestly. But it's steady and includes health insurance. Lily's eyes widened slightly. Health insurance was something she hadn't had since college. Could I think about it a bit longer? She asked. Of course, Anton said, but we hope to begin the program within 3 weeks. We'd need your decision by Monday. As they walked back toward the center's entrance, Lily heard music, a simple melody being picked out on what sounded like a very old piano. She paused, following the sound to a small room where a boy of about 9 was seated at an upright piano that had seen better days. He was playing Heart and Soul with one finger, his face scrunched in concentration. When he saw the adults in the doorway, he quickly pulled his hands away. Sorry, he mumbled. I know I'm not supposed to touch it. It's all right, Tyler, Diane assured him. This is Ms. Chen, she's a pianist. The boy looked at Lily with sudden interest. A real one? Like in concerts and stuff? Lily smiled and walked over to the piano. May I? She asked, gesturing to the bench. The boy scooted over and Lily sat beside him. She played a simple C major chord, wincing slightly at the piano's out-of-tune state. This piano has seen some love, she said diplomatically. It was donated, Diane explained. No one's really sure how to maintain it properly. Do you like music, Tyler? Lily asked the boy. He nodded, suddenly shy. My grandma has a keyboard. She lets me play sometimes. Would you like me to show you something? When he nodded eagerly, Lily positioned his right hand on the keys, showing him how to play a simple 5-note pattern. Try that. Tyler's first attempts were hesitant, his small fingers stiff with nerves. But after a few tries, he began to get it, his face lighting up with each successful repetition. "Now keep doing that," Lily encouraged him. With her left hand, she added a complementary bass pattern that transformed the simple exercise into something that sounded remarkably like the beginning of a pop song Tyler clearly recognized. "That's Fireflies," he exclaimed, his eyes wide. "I know that song." "It is," Lily confirmed. "A lot of popular songs use simple patterns that anyone can learn. Music isn't as complicated as people think." For the next few minutes, she showed him how to add notes to the pattern, turning it into more of the song. The boy was a quick study, his initial nervousness giving way to focused concentration. "That's really good, Tyler," she said when he managed to play through the pattern 3 times without mistakes. "You have a natural feel for the rhythm." The pride on his face made something twist in Lily's chest. A bittersweet recognition of what music could mean to a child who might otherwise never experience the joy of creating it. As they finally left the center, Anton walked Lily to the bus stop. "That moment with the boy, that's why we need this program," he said quietly. "And why we need someone like you to run it." Lily was silent, still processing everything she had seen and felt. "I know it's a risk," Anton continued. "Leaving a steady job for something new. But sometimes risks are worth taking." The bus approached and Lily prepared to board. "I'll let you know by Monday," she promised. Throughout the weekend, Lily wrestled with her decision. She picked up extra shifts at the diner, using the familiar work to help her think. On Saturday evening, she visited her parents for dinner, cautiously telling them about the opportunity. "Music? Again?" her father said with a frown. "I thought you were past all that." "It's a real job, Dad," Lily explained. "With health insurance and everything. Teaching kids." Her mother placed a hand on her husband's arm. "Let her talk, Hen. This sounds different from before." Lily's father had always been practical, worried about his daughter's financial security, in a way that only immigrants who had struggled for everything could understand. His skepticism was born of love and concern, not disapproval. "These symphony people, they're offering you a contract?" he asked. "Something in writing?" "Anton said there would be paperwork if I accept." Her father nodded slowly. "Then you make sure to read it carefully. And maybe cut back at the diner instead of quitting right away. Test the waters." It wasn't enthusiastic support, but coming from her cautious father, it was significant. On Sunday night, Lily sat at her piano, playing through pieces that had been her companions through years of solitary practice. The music flowed from her fingers with a new energy, as if it sensed the decision she had already made in her heart. On Monday morning, she called Anton. "I'd like to accept the position," she said, her voice firm. "When do we start?" 2 days later, Lily found herself in a meeting room at Heinz Hall with Anton, Diane, and several members of the symphony's board of directors. They presented her with a contract for a 6-month pilot program, with the possibility of extension based on results. As Lily signed her name, she felt as if she were signing away her old life and stepping into an unknown future. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "Welcome to the Pittsburgh Symphony's Community Music Initiative," said the board chairwoman, shaking Lily's hand. "We have high hopes for what you'll accomplish." Looking around at the expectant faces, Lily felt the weight of their expectations. Could she really do this? Transform from a waitress to a music educator in the space of a few weeks? Then she remembered Tyler's face when he successfully played the pattern she had taught him. The pure joy of discovery, the pride of accomplishment. That was real. That was something she could give to other children who might otherwise never know the transformative power of music. For the first time in years, Lily felt that her life had purpose, that her music would finally be heard, not on a concert stage as she had once dreamed, but in the eager minds and hearts of children who deserved the chance to find their own unexpected talents. The first day of the community music program arrived with a mix of autumn rain and golden leaves swirling through the Pittsburgh streets. Lily arrived at the center 2 hours early, her arms full of music books and her stomach twisted with nerves. She had spent the past 3 weeks preparing, developing lesson plans, practicing teaching techniques, and even buying 2 professional outfits that made her feel more like a teacher and less like a waitress. She still worked, weekends at the diner. Mr. Grayson had been surprisingly understanding when she'd explained the situation, offering her weekend shifts to supplement her new income while she found her footing. "Always knew you were meant for bigger things than serving pancakes," he'd said gruffly. Just don't forget about us little people when you're famous. Now, as Lily arranged 5 donated keyboards in the freshly painted classroom, she wondered if she was in over her head. The program had enrolled 15 children for the initial class, ranging in age from 7 to 14. How could she possibly keep them all engaged? What if they hated it? What if they hated her? Diane popped her head into the room. Need any help? You've been here since dawn. Just nervous, Lily admitted, adjusting a keyboard that was already perfectly positioned. What if I can't do this? Diane entered the room and placed a steady hand on Lily's shoulder. You can and you will. Remember how Tyler responded to you? Kids can sense when someone really cares. You do, and that's half the battle. By 9:30, children began arriving with parents or grandparents. Lily greeted each one, trying to memorize names and faces while projecting a confidence she didn't entirely feel. Tyler was among the first to arrive, proudly telling his grandmother, "That's her, the real pianist I told you about." A girl of about 12 hung back by the door looking uncertain until Lily approached her. "I'm Lily, what's your name?" "Zoe," the girl answered softly. "I don't know anything about music. That's why we're here, to learn together," Lily assured her. "I'm new at teaching, so we'll figure it out as we go." "Deal?" A small smile appeared on Zoe's face. "Deal." By 10 o'clock, all 15 children were seated, looking at Lily with expressions ranging from excitement to boredom to outright skepticism. "Welcome to our first music class," Lily began, her voice only slightly unsteady. "Before we touch any keyboards, I want to talk about what music is and why we care about it." A boy in the back row raised his hand. "Is this going to be boring?" "My mom made me come." Several kids laughed, and Lily felt her face flush. This was already going off the rails. Then she remembered something her grandmother used to do. "Actually," she said, taking her phone out, "I thought we'd start by listening to some music and telling me what you think." She connected her phone to a small speaker and played the opening of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, perhaps the most recognizable classical piece ever written. The famous da-da-da-dum filled the room. "Anyone recognize this?" Lily asked. Several hands shot up. "It's from a movie," one child called out. "It's in that video game my brother plays," said another. Lily nodded. "It's been used in lots of places because it's so powerful. This was written by a man named Beethoven over 200 years ago. What do you think he was feeling when he wrote this?" "Angry," shouted a small boy in the front. "Scared," suggested Zoe quietly. "Like something bad is coming," added Tyler. Lily smiled. "Those are great observations. Music tells stories without words. Now let me play you something different." She switched to a piece of gentle jazz. The mood in the room immediately changed, children's bodies visibly relaxing. "How does this make you feel?" Lily asked. "Sleepy," said one girl with a giggle. "Calm," said another. "Like when my grandma makes hot chocolate on rainy days," offered Tyler. For the next 20 minutes, Lily played snippets of different styles: classical, jazz, hip-hop, movie soundtracks, asking the children what they heard and felt. Even the skeptical boy in the back became engaged, arguing passionately that a heavy metal selection made him feel powerful, like a superhero. By the time Lily finally introduced them to the keyboards, the initial awkwardness had dissolved. She showed them the layout of the keys, taught them a simple 5-note pattern, and let them experiment. The room filled with a cacophony of disjointed notes as 15 pairs of hands explored the keyboards. It wasn't beautiful music, but to Lily, the sound of discovery was its own kind of melody. At the end of the 2-hour session, several children lingered, asking when they could come back. Tyler proudly showed his grandmother the pattern he had learned. Even the skeptical boy asked if they could do the listening thing again next time. When the last child had left, Lily sank into a chair, physically and emotionally drained but filled with a new sense of purpose. Teaching, she realized, was both harder and more rewarding than she had imagined. "Not bad for a first day," said a voice from the doorway. Lily looked up to see Anton standing there, a pleased expression on his face. "You were watching?" she asked, embarrassed. "Just the last half hour. I didn't want to disrupt the flow." He entered the room and sat in a chair across from her. "You have a natural gift for this, you know. The way you connected music to emotions rather than starting with technical details, that was inspired." "It's how my grandmother taught me," Lily admitted. "She always said technique without feeling is just noise." A wise woman. Anton nodded. The board would like a progress report at the end of the month. Nothing formal, just your impressions and any needs you identify. Already? But we've barely started. Welcome to the world of grant funding, Anton said with a wry smile. Everything must be documented, evaluated, justified. The reality of organizational politics and funding constraints was a jarring reminder that this wasn't just about teaching children to play piano. It was a program with stakeholders and expectations and measurable outcomes. Over the next 3 weeks, Lily threw herself into the work. She taught group classes twice a week and offered individual sessions to students who showed particular interest or aptitude. She learned names and personalities, discovered who needed extra encouragement and who needed to be reined in. She dealt with frustrated tears when a piece proved too difficult and beaming pride when a challenging passage was finally mastered. And she documented everything meticulously, knowing that the program's future, and her job, depended on demonstrating results. What she hadn't expected was how teaching would transform her own relationship with music. When explaining concepts to her students, she found herself reconnecting with the fundamental joy that had drawn her to piano as a child. Before competitions and technical perfection became the focus. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, when half the children seemed distracted and nothing went according to plan, Lily sat alone at one of the classroom keyboards, playing a simple Mozart sonata to clear her mind. "That's pretty," said a voice. Lily turned to see Zoe standing in the doorway, backpack in hand. "I forgot my notebook," the girl explained. "You play so good?" "Thank you," Lily said. "Would you like to learn this piece someday?" Zoe approached cautiously. "Could I? It seems hard." "Not if we break it down into small parts." Lily patted the bench beside her. "Want me to show you the beginning?" For the next 15 minutes, Lily guided Zoe through the first few measures, watching the girl's face light up as she began to recognize the pattern. "You're a quick learner," Lily told her. "With practice, you could play this whole piece someday." "Really?" Zoe looked doubtful. "Nobody in my family plays anything. My mom says music is for rich kids." The comment stung Lily, reminding her of her own family's skepticism when she'd shown early musical promise. "Music is for everyone," she said firmly. "That's why we're here." When Zoe left, clutching her notebook and humming the Mozart phrase, Lily sat thinking about the barriers that kept children from exploring their creative potential. Not just financial barriers, but the invisible ones built of assumptions and limited expectations. That night, she drafted a passionate email to Anton and the board, outlining her observations and proposing several program expansions. A keyboard loan program so students could practice at home, a series of field trips to symphony performances, and a recital where parents could see their children's progress. She hesitated before sending it, worried about overstepping her bounds. The program was still in its pilot phase, and here she was proposing significant expansions. But the memory of Zoe's face when she successfully played the Mozart phrase strengthened her resolve. She hit send. The response came the next morning, a request to present her ideas at the next board meeting, scheduled for the following week. Lily spent the weekend preparing her presentation, balancing shifts at the diner with hours of research and planning. May helped her choose an outfit and listened patiently as Lily practiced explaining her vision. "You know what's funny?" May observed as they sat in Lily's apartment surrounded by notes and printouts. "A month ago you were terrified to even call this conductor guy back. Now you're about to tell a room full of rich donors how to spend their money." "Oh God," Lily groaned. "When you put it that way, it sounds insane." "What am I doing?" "You're fighting for something you believe in," May said simply. "That's not insane. It's brave." The day of the board meeting arrived with a freak early snowstorm that blanketed Pittsburgh in white. Lily navigated the slippery sidewalks carefully, clutching her folder of notes and statistics she had gathered to support her proposals. Heinz Hall looked even more imposing in the snow, its grand facade looming over the cultural district. Lily took a deep breath before entering through the administrative entrance Anton had specified in his email. The boardroom was intimidating, all dark wood and leather chairs around a massive table. When Lily entered, 10 pairs of eyes turned to her. She recognized a few faces from her initial contract signing, but most were strangers. Well-dressed men and women who exuded the quiet confidence of power and privilege. "Ms. Chen, welcome," said the board chairwoman, a stern-looking woman in her 60s. "Anton has shared your email with us. We're interested in hearing more about your experiences and proposals." Lily had planned to start with statistics and research on music education benefits, but looking at the faces around the table, she made a split-second decision to take a different approach. "Before I begin," she said, her voice surprisingly steady, "I'd like to tell you about a student named Zoe." She described the girl's initial skepticism, her growing interest, and her comment about music being for rich kids. She talked about Tyler's natural aptitude and the skeptical boy who had become one of her most enthusiastic participants. "These children have as much potential as any others," Lily concluded. "What they lack are opportunities and resources. That's what our program can provide, not just music lessons, but a door to possibilities they might never otherwise imagine for themselves." As she moved into the specific proposals, Lily noticed the chairwoman nodding slightly. When she finished her presentation, there was a moment of silence. "You're asking for a significant increase in funding," said one board member, a middle-aged man with a skeptical expression. "This was approved as a small pilot program." "I understand that," Lily acknowledged. "But I believe the return on investment would be substantial, not just in musical education but in community engagement and symphony visibility." "She has a point," Anton interjected. "The program has already generated positive press. Imagine what a student recital could do." The discussion continued for nearly an hour, with board members raising questions and concerns that Lily addressed as best she could. By the end, she was mentally exhausted but still standing her ground. "We'll need to deliberate," the chairwoman finally said. "Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Chen. We'll be in touch within the week." As Lily gathered her materials, she felt a mix of pride and anxiety. Had she pushed too hard? Not hard enough? Only time would tell. The 5 days following the board meeting were some of the longest of Lily's life. She continued teaching her classes, trying to maintain her enthusiasm despite the knot of anxiety that had taken up permanent residence in her stomach. The children picked up on her mood, becoming more subdued than usual, which only added to her worry. "You're going to wear a hole in that floor," May observed on Friday evening as Lily paced around her apartment. "The board will decide what they decide. Wearing yourself out won't change anything." "I know," Lily sighed, finally dropping onto the sofa beside her friend. "But this matters so much. You should see how these kids light up when they master even the simplest piece. If we had the resources to really develop the program—" Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. Anton's name flashed on the screen. Lily's hand trembled slightly as she answered. "Hello? Lily, it's Anton. The board has reached a decision. Could you meet me at Heinz Hall tomorrow morning?" "Say 9 o'clock?" His tone revealed nothing, and Lily felt her heart sink. If the news were good, wouldn't he sound more enthusiastic? "I'll be there," she managed to say before ending the call. May raised her eyebrows questioningly. "They've made a decision, but he wouldn't tell me what it is." "I have to meet him tomorrow morning." "That's a good sign," May said firmly. "If they were shutting the program down, he'd just tell you over the phone." Lily wanted to believe her friend, but doubt crept in as the night progressed. She slept poorly, her dreams filled with disappointed children and stern-faced board members. The next morning dawned clear and cold. Lily dressed carefully in her most professional outfit, a navy blue dress with a simple cardigan, and headed to Heinz Hall. The grand building looked particularly imposing against the bright blue sky, its ornate facade a reminder of the wealth and tradition that had built Pittsburgh's cultural institutions. Anton was waiting for her in the lobby, his expression unreadable. "Thank you for coming," he said formally. "The chairwoman would like to speak with you personally." Lily's stomach dropped. This didn't sound like good news. Anton led her through a series of hallways to a spacious office where the board chairwoman sat behind an elegant desk. The older woman gestured for Lily to take a seat. "Ms. Chen, thank you for your patience," she began. "The board has had several lengthy discussions about your proposals for the community music program." Lily nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "Your passion for the program is evident, and your results so far are impressive. The feedback from parents has been overwhelmingly positive." There was a but coming. Lily could feel it. "However," the chairwoman continued, "your proposals would require a significant increase in funding at a time when our budget is already stretched thin." Lily's shoulders slumped slightly. This was what she had feared. That said, we have decided to approve a modified version of your expansion plan. Lily looked up, stunned. Modified? Not rejected? The chairwoman's stern expression softened slightly. No, not rejected. We believe in the program's potential, but we need to proceed cautiously. We've approved the keyboard loan program and a modest increase in your teaching hours. The field trips and recital will have to wait until we secure additional funding. Relief flooded through Lily. It wasn't everything she had asked for, but it was far better than nothing. There's one more thing, the chairwoman added, glancing at Anton. We've received interest from a potential major donor who specifically wants to support music education initiatives. They've requested a demonstration of the program before committing funds. A demonstration? Lily repeated. Like a mini recital? Anton nodded. Exactly like that. The donor wants to see the children perform and meet you. It would be in 3 weeks' time. 3 weeks? Lily's mind raced through her students' current abilities. That's not much time to prepare a performance. It doesn't need to be elaborate, the chairwoman assured her. Just enough to showcase what the children have learned and what the program offers. As Lily left Hines Hall, her emotions were mixed. The program would continue, which was a victory, but now she faced the pressure of preparing her students for a performance that could determine its future growth. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of intensity. Lily worked with each student to identify a short piece they could master in the limited time available. For some, it was as simple as a well-played scale or basic chord progression. For others, like Tyler and Zoe, who had shown remarkable progress, it was simplified versions of classical pieces. She arranged for extra practice sessions, coming in early and staying late at the community center. She created a simple arrangement that would allow all 15 children to play together for the finale, each contributing according to their ability. The night before the demonstration, Lily stayed up late at her piano, running through each child's piece, imagining potential problems and solutions. When she finally fell into bed around midnight, her dreams were filled with music. Some harmonious, some discordant, all urgent. The day of the demonstration arrived with a mix of sunshine and nervous energy. Lily had transformed the classroom with the help of Diane and a few parent volunteers. Chairs were arranged in neat rows facing the keyboards, which had been positioned in a semicircle. Simple programs listed each student's name and piece, giving the event a sense of formality that Lily hoped would boost the children's confidence. As the students arrived, Lily could see the mixture of excitement and terror on their faces, emotions she remembered well from her own childhood performances. I think I'm going to throw up, Tyler confessed as he practiced his piece one last time. That's just your body's way of telling you this matters, Lily assured him. Take 3 deep breaths and remember, it's just music. You love music. Zoe arrived looking pale but determined in a carefully ironed dress. My mom's coming, she told Lily. She got time off work. Lily squeezed the girl's shoulder encouragingly. She's going to be so proud of you. By 3 o'clock, the classroom was filled with parents, siblings, and a small delegation from the symphony board. The chairwoman sat in the front row, beside Anton and an elegant older woman Lily didn't recognize. Presumably the potential donor. Welcome to the first demonstration of the Pittsburgh Symphony Community Music Initiative, Lily began, her voice only slightly unsteady. These students have been learning for just over 6 weeks, so what you'll hear today represents the very beginning of their musical journey. She introduced the first student, a 7-year-old boy who played a simple melody with intense concentration. One by one, the children performed their pieces, some faltering, some surprisingly confident, all visibly proud when they finished and heard the applause. When Tyler's turn came, he hesitated for just a moment before launching into his piece, a simplified version of the Fireflies melody that had first connected him to Lily, now expanded into a recognizable arrangement. He played with a natural musicality that made Lily's heart swell with pride. Zoe was next to last, performing the first section of the Mozart sonata. Her hands trembled slightly, but her playing was clear and precise. When she finished, Lily caught sight of Zoe's mother in the second row, hastily wiping away a tear. For the finale, all 15 children gathered around the keyboards, each playing their part in the simple arrangement Lily had created, a melody that passed from student to student, with basic harmonies underneath. It wasn't perfect, but it was genuine music, created by children who 6 weeks earlier had never touched a keyboard. As the final notes faded, there was a moment of silence before the room erupted in applause. Lily watched the children's faces transform with the realization that they had done it. They had made music that moved people. After the audience had dispersed and the students had left, buzzing with excitement and relief, Lily found herself approached by the elegant woman who had been sitting with the board members. "Ms. Chen, I'm Eleanor Richards," the woman said, extending her hand. "That was quite remarkable." "Thank you," Lily replied, suddenly aware of her rumpled appearance after hours of managing excited children. "The students worked incredibly hard. So did their teacher, I suspect." Eleanor smiled. "Anton has told me your story, from waitress to music educator. It's quite inspiring." Lily felt herself blush. "I'm just grateful for the opportunity to combine my love for music with something meaningful." "That's exactly why I'm interested in supporting this program," Eleanor said. "Not just because music education matters, though it certainly does, but because of the example you set. These children now know that talent can appear in unexpected places, and dreams can take surprising forms." 3 days later, Lily received a call from the board chairwoman. Eleanor Richards had committed to a substantial 3-year grant that would fully fund all of Lily's proposed expansions and add a string instrument component to the program. "She was particularly impressed with you," the chairwoman added. "She's requested that you be named program director with a corresponding salary increase." Lily sat in stunned silence for a moment. "Program director? You've earned it, Miss Chen. You had a vision and you made it reality." As the program grew over the following months, Lily finally gave her notice at the diner. Mr. Grayson threw her a farewell party, complete with a cake decorated with a piano keyboard made of frosting. "Told you were meant for bigger things," he said gruffly, as he handed her a card signed by the entire staff, a year to the day after Anton had first left his business card at the diner. Lily sat in the audience at Heinz Hall, watching as 5 of her students performed on stage alongside members of the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. It was the culmination of the program's first year, a Number special youth concert featuring selected students from the now expanded community initiative. When Tyler stepped forward to play his solo piece with orchestral accompaniment, his face a mixture of terror and determination, Lily felt tears spring to her eyes. She remembered the boy picking out heart and soul with one finger, remembered her own journey from serving pancakes to leading a program that had already touched over 100 young lives. In the wings, Anton stood watching, a satisfied smile on his face. He had recognized something in a waitress who hummed Bach, not just musical talent, but the heart of a teacher and the determination of someone who understood the transformative power of art. As the music swelled around her, Lily thought of her grandmother, who had first placed her small hands on piano keys and opened a door to a world of beauty and possibility. Now she was doing the same for others, creating ripples that would spread in ways she couldn't yet imagine. The unexpected talent she had carried inside herself all these years had finally found its perfect expression, not in the spotlight on stage, but in the light she helped ignite in others.